he used to go and he used to be like, I'm gonna go to the cat shelter, and we'd be like, don't get another cat, and he would be like, guess what, I got a cat.
Hello, friends. My name is Aariaa. Welcome to TLC Next Reveal. I just discovered a recap of what's happening this week on Sister Wives. The past 3 weeks, I've noticed it very odd that there haven't been any new episode previews from TLC. Also, there has not been any coming up on Sister Wives promos at the end of the episodes, which is surprising considering that they've done that each week since the show began. Maybe it's because the issues of the day are so touchy. Or maybe because they're trying not to sensationalize the family, I'm not sure. Last week, TLC put up a very short preview for next week's episode of Sister Wives on their Facebook page. From what I gathered, it involves the family going to Wyoming. Janelle, Christine, Mary, and their kids all share a house that looks like an Airbnb. They're in Wyoming to pay respects and bury Garrison. Although Kody, Robin, and the children are also in Wyoming, no one is all on screen at any given time in the video. This episode appears to be about the family being in Wyoming because they have all come together for Garrison's memorial service. It will be the final one of season 18, episode 25. And apparently, there are then going to be 4 tell-all episodes following it. Honestly, that does seem a bit excessive at this stage. Recycling old arguments and family soap opera doesn't seem quite as pertinent anymore, considering the seriousness of recent developments. But that's just my 2 cents. I discovered the official description at Rotten Tomatoes. The family has gathered in Wyoming to honor Garrison and bury him in the family plot with his grandparents. Kody dig a grave for the body of his son, and the family bids farewell. I don't know anything about this cemetery. I don't know if Penrose is a public sea cemetery. I did look at the memorials on a website called graves.com, and it doesn't appear like it's just for the Browns. There's other people that don't appear to be related, different last names everywhere, not necessarily like a little family type cemetery. It's out of Powell in Bighorn. In Bighorn, it doesn't even have an address. I couldn't even find a website. I know nothing about this cemetery. I do know that I have had family members die, and I have never had a single family member dig a grave. I have never had a single family member dig a grave and profit of it on television, and I don't know, you guys. I don't know if I would be able to sit through an episode of Kody digging a grave for an urn that they're going to place in the ground next to his grandparents, Win and Cheryl. Right? They have like a family plot where they've purchased a lot of various plots together so that members of the family can be buried there, which isn't unusual. And Janelle did mention that she purchased a plot next to Garrison. So when she passes away, she can be buried next to Garrison. I've never heard, maybe some do. I've never really heard of a lot of individuals burying urns. I've heard of individuals using internment little things where they place a urn in a sort of tomb in a building that's like decorative at a graveyard. So it's like a small cubby type of enclosure, and it's not actually in the ground. So if you've done that, bear with me. I just haven't, I've yet to attend a funeral with my own family members where they've been cremated. I have nothing against cremation, by the way. So I feel like kind of sick thinking about Kody on a show that has brought so much hurt to this family. And on a show that this week we learned from Gwendolyn. We already knew this, but the kids weren't paid. Most of the kids that will be featured in this episode are not being paid for their time. They're there. I guess they're getting a vacation out of it. But it's not even really a vacation. They're staying in Wyoming and an Airbnb together, which they could be doing every year anyway. So it's not like they're going somewhere they wouldn't go anyway. You know what I mean? They might be getting their lodging paid for, maybe. But it's just so weird to think like, so this article drops from Teen Vogue. Gwendolyn basically says, we never made money off the producers jumped us and kind of ambushed us and questioned us about things that we don't really want to answer. Our worst moments are made for television, when really they're not what most of us would like. And because this was being accomplished the way it was being accomplished, and because Kody wanted to be all about him, I would think that the kids in this scenario don't really have a choice on whether or not they're going to participate. Because if they don't participate, it'll be depicted in a way that they don't feel to be true for Garrison. So maybe they're there for that element. But I really don't need to see Kody digging a grave. I don't need to see anyone digging a grave. Kody, I think why my stomach dropped is because Kody dug a grave for a dog and put the dog in the ground in the backyard at their house in Lehigh. And that's what I'm thinking. Like, so we're gonna turn this episode into like, when he buried the dog, it actually made me sick. You can pay people to dig up the plot for you so that you don't have to do it. It really feels like another performative way for Kody to show his lasting love for a child that he cared not about. That was when he was alive. And I just keep wondering, like if Garrison could see this, what would he think of this? His final text messages were regarding his frustration with this show, his anger at the production, informing them the way he felt about it. You've got this week, you know, discussing the exploitation of it, the lack of funds, and the fact that all of their show has gone public and there is no privacy anymore for adult children, whether or not they're on the show, because anything that's about Kody can be utilized as a storyline, and that is a biz spot for anybody who knows Kody. Because if you don't want to be on a show, and you don't want your name heard on a show, even if you are kin to him, you might be on the prove. You could be the topic of a discussion and a fight on a show where you won't be heard from, because Kody wants to talk about it and build it into a story. Nobody is safe with Kody or Robin because they're going to turn anything into a vehicle for ratings. The only part of all this that I've really found actually what Garrison would have liked was when Janelle went to the Humane Society and found that they do have a room they have in Flagstaff, the AAT adoption room, for its high country humane, and they brought in well over $25,000 because people gave money to them. I know last year when this was occurring, the videos I took at the time, a large portion of it, I donated to High Country Humane, and then the other shelter in Flagstaff as well, and it just felt like the right thing to do at the moment. And so it was actually really touching to see how that all came about, like how it touched so many other cats and families, like they were able to donate, they were able to waive adoption fees. And 25 or 35 cats got placed in 1 month, and people did not have to overcome the expense of being able to take the cat home, since the donations made paid for it. This is the cat adoption room, and the name is Garrison's room. And visit some people from High Country, and she say, all 3 came from High Country Humane. I hope the plaque reflects how deeply grateful we are for the generous donations made in his memory. Since his passing, $25,000 has been raised for the cats at High Country Humane. And then cats in need of care received care because of that money, and don't have in his legacy be honored there, with that room continuing to be a room that is in honor of Garrison. And all 3 of his cats came from the same exact Humane Society. That was to me. Like, that's how you honor him. I guess if you have to have it on the show, at least talk about something that was important to him. He loved his cats. They were like his children to him. He had a soft spot for, animals that have been discarded and abandoned. He was a rescuing promoter, which is that rescuing animals isn't easy. I have a couple rescue dogs, and they have a lot of special needs. And so when you're talking about taking cats and dogs from shelters, you're adopting their trauma from where they were, and that can take time to overcome. For the cats and dogs, and some of them don't. But with patience and love, some of them are able to really turn around, and they find their forever happy home, forever home. And that's what he was willing to provide those animals. And that's the kind of person he was. And so I felt like when she went there and did that, that I felt was respectful. Because we're not talking about his death in a way where we're having to prove that we're burying him. When we buried my mother-in-law, when we went to the cemetery, I don't know anyone's ever been there. I don't know cameras being there. I don't know it being a voyeur experience for television or for the internet. I don't know the last moments before you bury your loved one being on television because those are literally the saddest moments for a family. I mean, when they lay the casket or the urn in the ground, and then they have you put your flowers or what have you. We all put roses on top of hers. And then some people will put dirt on top of the casket as a like, we're going to start this. So the family members can do that. And that is so intimate. It feels sacred. It doesn't feel something that you would exploit for television. And I certainly don't need to see Kody Brown digging a grave for a son that he doesn't care about outside of the DNA that he donated to make this baby possible, and the fabricated story that he's spinning to try to redeem himself. Because he couldn't be there for his son in life, but he can show up and dig a grave for a show. Who does that? I don't know if I'm even gonna watch this episode. I'm gonna have to weigh it. But I wanted to share with you, and I feel like this is like such an unforgivable moment to me. Like it's such a betrayal to Garrison, really. I'm upset that Kody has this kind of power still over the women that they have to go along with this, because I don't know that all of the women were okay with this. I just don't know how they could be. And if they are okay with this, that makes me like start to question all of the adults involved in the situation about the exploitation of this moment for television. You can talk about his death. You can use it to open up conversation about mental illness and mental health and suicide. And you can use this as a way of educating and helping people learn about the warning signs, which, to be clear, has not yet happened on the show whatsoever. But a positive effect could be had in that it could help other people understand what they missed and what the warning signs are and what the red flags are and what resources are available for people that do need help. It could literally save a life. But digging a grave is just so triggering. And it just so reminds me of when he buried the dog, and I just felt sick. So to me, it's an